Okay. The first 3 psukim we're talking about what the purpose of who the author was and his credentials. This is the book of Mishlei, Shlomo ben David Melech Yisrael, and what the purpose of the book is. Ladas chachmu musa lahavinim rabina, lakachas musa haskel tzedek u'mishpat u'misharim. Laseis. Now then in verses 4, 5, and 6, Mishlei now is telling us who this is being. Actually, 4 and 5. I'm sorry. In 4 and 5, Mishlei is telling us who this is speaking to, and we understand that. And this is where. Oh wait, I'm sorry. I didn't put the. There we go. Hmm? There it is. Okay, I'm sorry. Oh. So I thought it was, I put it on the bottom, but it didn't, somehow I pressed enter, it didn't go up. Okay, let's say Psoim Arma, Lenar Dasu Mirma, verse 4, that the purpose, the purpose of the book, the people that it's intended for the Psoim and the Na'ar, we'll describe those again in a minute, and then the Chacham in verse 5, and the Navon in verse 6. And it's to endow or to give the Psoim Arma, the Psoim shrewdness, the Na'ar, the young, Das Umezima, knowledge and foresight. To the Chacham, he will Yishma, he will hear the words of Mishlei, V'yosef Lekach, and he will gain more wisdom. And the Navon, the discerning person, is going Tachbulos Yikna, is going to, here the translation is learn to be adroit, or that he is going to learn systems or design. Okay, and we'll see exactly what that what strategies. Excuse me. We'll see exactly what that means. Okay, then I spoke about yesterday about how to break down these psukim, and I want to show you a visual on that. And this is really how I learn. Okay, so you'll see here. Laseis lepsoim arma, lenar dasu mizima, yishma chacham v'yosef lekach, v'novon tachbulos yikna. So these were the 2 psukim that we're dealing with. So then if you take the pasuk, each pasuk, and split it in half, so then it's laseis lepsoim arma, to give to the psoim shrewdness, lenar dasu mizima, yishma chacham v'yosef lekach, v'navon tachbulos yikna. You see also a little bit when I was talking about that there's a rhythm to Mishlei, and you'll see this in almost all the psukim. Da-dun, 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 da-dun. And it has to be interpreted that way also, that there are 2 sides of a coin in most of the phrases. Laseis l'psoyim arma, lenar das mazima. Okay, now, when you break it down a little bit further, look at what you have. You have 3 columns in these 2 psukim. You have how you're going to get this information in. Laseis, to give, in 1 and 2, to the psoyim and to the na'ar. And what are they going to get out of the book of Mishlei? The psoyim are going to get arma. The nar is going to get das umezima. Yishma, hearing, to the chacham, and what's he going to get out of it? Yosef lekach. He's going to get basically more of the same. And yikne v'navon tachbulos. Anybody notice something weird about that? I took the pasuk. This is the real pasuk. V'navon tachbulos yikne. Navon is the person that's being spoken to. Tachbulos is what he's going to get out of it. Yikne is how he's going to get it. Well, column number 1 is how you're going to get it. Column number 2 is who's going to get it. And column number 3 is what they're going to get. So it's just interesting that Shlomo Melech, and this I think is poetic, but that Shlomo Melech mixed it up in the last one, and that it talked about the Navon, it talked about Yikne, which was at the end of the pasuk. So, but I had to put it at the beginning because it belongs in this column of how you're going to receive it. Who is going to receive it? That's the Navon, and the Tachbulos is what he's going to receive. So the pasuk is out of order, and therefore to lay it out like this, it has to be jumbled. But now you see very clear two psukim, exactly what Shlomo Melech is telling us. It's like no gainas. Shlomo Melech is telling us this is what the purpose of the book of Mishlei is, and that it's going to give something different to every different type of person. To those that fall in the category of psayim, it's going to give arma. To those now that, by the way, is very easy to then figure out. What is arma? What do we call the snake? Call the snake the most arum, which we translate as naked, but it's not. He was the most arum of all the animals. He's the one that had the most cunningness. He's the one that had the most street smarts. Arma is street smarts. It's like naked wisdom. It's like, wisdom unplugged. Street smarts. So therefore, who is the Pesi? Very easy to figure that also. The Pesi is the opposite of the Arma. The Arma is street smarts. That's what the Arma he's going to get. Street smarts. That means that what's he missing? He's missing street smarts. What do we call a person that's missing street smarts? Naive. Person naive. One of my favorite things. The battle. There's water in America. I don't know if it's here. They have bottled water in America. You always wonder why it has to have hashkacha. Why? There is reasons, by the way, mostly for Pesach. But be that as it may, they tell you, this water is going to be so good for you and it's so great and everything. And one of the big companies of water is called Evian. Evian. Did you ever go backwards on the word Evian? You know what it spells? Naive. Skishmak. Yeah. So Laseis Lapsoyim Arma. If you need a little bit of street smarts, that means that you're naive. That's what the psayim are. When a Pesi hears a mashal, a Pesi thinks in these kinds of naive person very often, a little creative, a little bit on the hopeful side, a little bit on the positive side. You give him a mashal, it speaks to his heart. He thinks in mishalim. He thinks in these kinds of metaphors and similes. So the book of Mishlei, it's going to open his eyes. This is going to be like studying a dictionary for him. This is going to be like studying something very deep for him, because it's going to open him and to make him recognize, to give him a little bit of street smarts. How do you get it into his head? Let's say, so all you got to do is put it there. You're not going to work hard on the guy. The same as the nar. We spoke about this yesterday. The nar, we said, was a young person. So what are we giving the young person? We're giving him knowledge and design, because he's immature. He doesn't get it. It's not that he doesn't have the ability to get it. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have the smarts, but he just doesn't get it. He's missing information. He's not naive. He's just missing information. So what do you give him? You give him das umezima. What is he going to get from these mishalim? He's going to get understanding of the way the world works. He's going to get the information that he needs. He's going to get it in a very dramatic way. He's going to get it in a poetic way. He's going to get it in a mashaldik way. And again, you don't have to work hard with this guy. All you have to do is lases. So these are not bad people. A Pesi and a Nar is not a bad person. The person is just not getting the picture. As I mentioned yesterday, we turn to a person and we say, you're being a nar. To me, you're being immature. You're being like a child. You're not being deep. You're not being thinking. So these mishalim are going to give him. He's going to give him what he needs. He's going to give him the das umezima. Okay, so then the next two, the chacham and the navon. So what's a chacham? We spoke yesterday. The chacham is a person who desires wisdom. It's a person who has stuff in his head, right? He desires it, but he's also got stuff there, but he wants more. Let's go back to the Chacham at the Seder. The Chacham at the Seder says that, Daddy, give me more. He says, what are you guys doing? Teach me the halachas. And what's the answer that we give him? We give him the answer. We say to him, Ein maftirin acher Pesach afikoman. How inspiring. Don't eat anything after the afikoman. That's the last thing you can eat. Shkoyach, thank you, Dad. What do you say to him? Look at the answers to the other guys, like the Russia, you give him a Musa shmuz, right? And the Tam, you open them up, and the Shenu Daily Shoal, your wife opens them up, right? You have to get them where they're at. And to the Chacham, what do you say to them? Don't add any. No, you can't eat after the Carbon Pesach. That's it. What are you saying to him? He's saying to you, I want more. I want the details. I want everything. I want to understand everything. So you tell him, this is it. This is black and white. This is the way it is. And you give him all of the details in their glory. So the Chacham, Yishma, he's got enough brains, desire, love of learning to be able to hear what you're saying. You can say to him X, and he'll understand what X really means. He'll understand the depth of what you're really saying to him. He won't necessarily connect it to anything else, but he's going to understand it. You meant to tell me, you were teaching me this kind of thing. He'll yishma, he'll hear and internalize these things. Shema is also, when we say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, we don't just mean hear. And we don't just mean understand. The word Shema means internalize. Internalize the message that's being taught to you. Internalize the message that's being spoken. So the Chacham, if he's Yishma, if he internalizes, Yosef Lekach. What's going to be the outcome of Mishlei in his life? The outcome is going to be that it's going to be an increase of his Chachma. It's going to ignite a fire in him. It's going to give him more of what he has and more of a desire of what he has, more of a knowledge of what he has, more of the stuff that he started from, that he approached the learning with. This is going to give him more of that. And then we have the Navon. Who is the Navon? The Navon is the person. First of all, what is the root of the word Navon? Does anybody know? Bina. Bina, understanding. Do you know what the root of the word? I'm just going to stop the share here for a minute because I want to see people. Do you know what the root of the word Bina is? Bone, to build. When it says in the Torah, Vayiven Hashem Elikim, that God built the woman. So the commentaries say, what does it mean he built the woman? That he gave her a bina yisera. He gave her an extra measure of understanding. He was bone, he built her with a bina, with an understanding. Now, that's a cute play on words. Bone, bina, nice. No, because what is bina? What is understanding? Understanding is I tell you X and you say, wait a second, that's just like Y. And now you put X and Y together and you come out with Z. That's called Bina. Chachma, Bina, and Das. What's Chachma? Chachma is the info, the stuff. Bina is when you take the stuff and you start to build, you start to bone a binyan. You start to build something with it. You start to build an understanding. You start to build a Weltanschauung. You start to build a way of understanding the world. That's what God gave a woman. God gave a woman an extra measure of that bina. By the way, what's das? What's the third component? Das is putting it into practice. Das is bringing it into your life, to take it into actually build it. You've got the plans, chachma bina, but now you have to have the actual building, the execution. That's das. But God gave a woman an extra measure of understanding. Woman has an ability to be able to make what we call in Yiddish zustels, right? To be able to connect things together and to say, oh, if this is true over here, then this is true over here. And that if this means this, then that probably, oh, that's what you meant over there. Be able to put together that picture. It doesn't mean that men can't do that. It means that a woman naturally has that ability to do it. A man has to learn that ability. Be that is because you got an extra measure of bina. So we turn to the navon. We turn to the person who is the navon, the person of understanding, and we say to the navon, what is the navon going to acquire? The navon is going to acquire tachbulot. So what did we say tachbulot are? We translated it as strategies. You know, the word tachbulot, one of the roots of the word is chevel, a rope. How do you build bina understanding? You take one rope, you tie it to another rope, you tie it to another rope, and eventually you tie it to the bucket and you lift up the water. You know, as you go to a well, you can't get to the water in the well, and you look at it and you say, wait, if I take this rope, I only have 10 small pieces of rope, but if I take this, I connect it to that, and I connect it to that, eventually I'll be able to get to the water. I'll be able to get to the drink. Tachbulot are deeper ways of understanding and appreciating the world that you live in and the Torah that you have in front of you. When a person who thinks like that, a navon, hears mishalim, so then the navon, in a poetic, artistic way, is able to take things and to put them together and to say, oh, so you're presenting to me a world like this. The chacham, you're giving him more of what he's got. And eventually that chacham is going to be able to put things together and he's going to be able to become a navon. But until he becomes a navon, he's just getting more chachma, more chachma, more chachma, and the mishalim are just adding to that. It's beautiful, Yosef Lekach. But not the navon. The navon is now learning how to use that. The navon is learning how to put things together, and he's starting to build a structure. You're giving tachbulos, you're giving him strategies how to live in this world, not just the information about living in this world, but strategies how to live here, because this is what's expected of me. This is the way you're going to be happy. This is the way you're going to be able to build relationships with other people. He's going to understand from all the pieces of information, he's going to start to put together a picture. How's he going to do that? He's going to do that through yikneh. He's going to do that through, the word yikneh is to be kona, to acquire. So the simple understanding is yikneh through the mishalim. He's going to possess the information. He's going to internalize it. But there are other words that could have been used if you just wanted to say that he internalizes it. As a matter of fact, we could have done the same structure in the psukim that we did in the first two. I hope everybody sees it. Laseis lapsoyim arma, and then we didn't put. There was no in that pasuk. There was no word for how to put it inside of him for the nar das umezima. So we understand that it's laseis also. Could have done the same thing down here. Yishma chacham v'yosef lakach v'navon tachbulos. And Yishma would have meant to internalize it. Ladies and gentlemen, do you remember that word kona? You remember the word aseh lecha rav? Uknei lecha chaver? When we talk about kona,
acquiring a friend.
Right? Talking about friends, that's correct. Acquire a friend. What do you need when you've got your chachma and you've got your dasum zima and you've got your omer, you got your street smarts and you've got your basic understandings and you've got your Yosef Lekach, you got more and more information. Now you need somebody to help actualize it. Now it's yikneh, a friend, and that's how the navon is going to acquire his tachbulos. It's not just he's going to internalize it, but he's going to internalize it along with other people, along with a community of like-minded people. That's the way. Now, all of what I'm saying is based on the understandings of the Gra, the understandings of many of the Malbim and many of the commentaries, but that's the way I understand these two psukim. These two psukim are coming to tell me who is my audience And how are we going to, how is Mishlei going to affect that audience? Okay, beautiful. Just 1 second. Okay. This, by the way, is important not only for understanding Mishlei, but it's important in understanding ourselves. Which category do I fit into? Because whichever category, Mishlei is going to speak to me. Am I a Pesi? Am I a Nar? Am I a Chacham? Or am I a Novon? So I'll let you in a little secret. As much as you don't want to be a Pesi, you're a Pesi. And as much as you think you're a Novon, you're a Novon. And you're also a Chacham, and you're also a Nar. Depends on the minute of the day. Depends on the issue. Think about the things, the mitzvos, that you keep with absolute energy, certainty, clarity, love. In those, you're a Novon. Person is really into Shabbos and Hilchos Shabbos. That person is a Novon when it comes to Shabbos. They understand, they hear things, they're able to put halachas together, they get the whole thing. But when it comes to the laws of Chala, or the laws of Shvius, of the 7th year of Shemitah, I fall down to either a Nar or a Pesi. I get demoted. In some things, I'm a Chacham. I've got so much info, but I don't quite have the whole picture of it. I just got a lot of pieces of information. So I'm a Chacham. I could easily become a Novon. In some things, I'm a Nar, some things, I'm a Pesi. We have to recognize that in specific situations, at specific times, we are different things. The messages of Mishlei, and I'll show you how tomorrow, but the messages of Mishlei are the things that are going to lift us up and are going to give us the 4 things that we need in order to be able to live a life. Arma, Das Umezima, Yosef Lekach, and Tachbulos. That we need street smarts. We need understanding of the way the world works. We need more information about the world, and we need how to use that world, or strategies. And that's what we can expect to get from the learning that we do in Sefer Mishlei, because that's what Shlomo hamelech set out to give us. Beautiful. One more piece tomorrow, and then we have basically finished the introduction. It's not bad. 7 classes on introduction, but the introduction is already in the verses. But he's just laying out in the first 7 verses of Mishlei, just laying out where we're going, the map, and then we start to get into real tachlis. Anybody ever hear the verse Shma b'ni musar avicha v'al titosh Torah simecha? Right? Listen to the discipline of your father and don't forsake the teaching of your mother. That's verse 8. That's where the book of Mishlei really starts to pound. That verse is going to take us quite a while because there's so much packed. Our whole Jewish lives are packed into that pasuk. Okay, good. We'll stop here. What's today's ready? Today's Monday?
Yes, we'll be able to sing it together.
Yirtzeh Hashem. Yirtzeh Hashem. Out of world. It's Monday already. It's unbelievable. It's Shabbos. Once you
Monday.
now you're getting so it's Shabbos. Okay, everybody should have a beautiful, wonderful, amazing day. And Hashem will see everybody tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you for a wonderful lesson.
Thank you.
So
I appreciate
enjoyed it. It was wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's great.
It's easier to see it when you lay it out like that. When I laid it on paper, it's much easier to see. You could talk about it, but it's much easier to see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Have a good one, everyone.
Have a great day.
Have a
Bye.
great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Culture, everybody.